we will dedicate today's gathering to the importance of wavelength. Many people don't even know what it is and why it should be important. But let me introduce this concept to you using some examples. In your life, I'm sure you know people who says, well, I divorced this woman or that man because I realized that we will never operate on the same wavelength. Which means they are too far from each other and they will never meet, never talk the same language, never go together to do something together and enjoy it in the same level. So that's the wavelength. Each of us operates on specific wavelength. This wavelength can be found on your pendulum. Why should we find our wavelength on the pendulum? Well, simply because when you dowse, you talk to someone. This someone is you, your what people call higher self or your unconscious mind, depending on your vocabulary. But everything what you dowse for goes through you, through your physical body. Hence, you need to talk to you, because you are the transmitter, you are the receiver, you are the antenna, you are everything what is crucial to dowse. Let's find out how it works. We will go through crash course of physics. I know it's scary, but it won't be too much scary. So here are the axes. And the wave looks like this. That's the first range. And then it goes farther. That's the second range. And that's the third range. It's the same wavelength, just different ranges. So if that's your wavelength, then as every radio or TV set, you need to tune in your tool, which is a pendulum, to the wavelength which you represent. In our course, online course, I will dedicate more time to this problem to understand it further, but that's just basic description. Now imagine that energy flows this way through everything, through the mountains, through the fields, through whole universe. Now if we will turn this axis that way and put the pendulum on the bottom, then you can see that as you will go along the string on your pendulum, you will get to the point which is your first wavelength. Wavelength, the length of your wave on which you energetically operate. Only when you will hear the pendulum and the pendulum will hear you, which means when you speak from your wavelength, the pendulum will react to your requests because it will simply hear you. It's the same as in order to call me or your friend and talk to them, you have to dial the number, not any number, but a very specific number, so you will connect with this person. That's the wavelength. Now, if people hold pendulum whenever, so let's say here on this scale, then the wavelength of the person with this is like that. So if this is my wavelength and I will hold it here, I'm talking to someone else. Now this person with this other wavelength may think at the same time about something totally different. But because I tuned in to her or his wavelength, I will get the answer to his question, not to mine. Now let me show you how to find your wavelength. Everyone who buys anything from us gets always the flyers which described how to dowse with pendulum, which means how to find your wavelength. So, any pendulum you have, if you hold it just very next to the body of the pendulum, and in your mind you will have this request, show me my wavelength. Now, I will repeat that request out loud, but you don't have to. You can do it in your mind. So, as you say that, you also will slowly release the string, but not by dropping it, but simply by walking the string, you see, with your fingers. So there will be a lot less automatic movement by your pendulum. So we hold it next to the pendulum. In your mind, there is a request, show me my wavelength. Show me my wavelength. Show me my wavelength. Show me my wavelength. You see, and in this spot on the string, pendulum started to move. It doesn't matter if the movement is small or large. It means that at that point on the string, the pendulum hears me. And its movement means, yes, yes, yes. Okay, I hear you now. I hear you now. So what you do is you hold it here, and with your other hand, you bring this small bead, which is on every string when you will buy our pendulums, and mark your wavelength. Now, anytime when I would like to dowse, I can simply take the pendulum, hold it by this bit on the string, and without checking anything, just say your request. For example, vacation in March. And my pendulum says no. Vacation in June, it says yes. You see, so when you work from your wavelength, dowsing is a lot more accurate. You dowse faster because pendulum or your higher self do not have to make any effort to hear you precisely, properly, and you will not be so disappointed with your dowsing. So, find your wavelength, check the wavelength of all pendulums which you have, and we will talk soon more about dowsing with pendulum. And remember, dowsing is contagious. So when you talk to other people and you talk about dowsing, and you can use their language to open their awareness, you will be very, very successful in spreading the word about importance of dowsing in people's life. Good luck to you.